Mike's Daily Podcast.
I actually did 2 shows in a row, so it's like a daily show.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's like a daily podcast, and right now as I'm doing this show, there is a sun blaring me in my eyes, so I can't see very well. It's not good to be blinded by the light, wrapped up like a douche in the porn of that, whatever he says, Mr. Mannheim.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
No, it's Manfred Mann, not Mannheim Steamrollers. Wrong guy, sorry. I got a little distracted. This show's called
Mike's
And I Am Mike.
Daily
So, you know,
Podcast.
you're going to get a quality product.
Yeah!
With Mike being your fan here today. Not sure why I went into that voice. So, yes, we had a last podcast was a plethora of fun. Lots of, facts and stuff. And this podcast is not. This podcast is just going to sit here and sort of be very, I don't know, just introspective, maybe a little outrospective. Maybe we'll get to some points that you and I will both realize needed to be made. Oh, I finished watching Midsummer Murders. If you have not watched that show, actually, I take that back because I have not seen the latest episodes. It's now like in season 21, maybe something. It started in the late 90s, this show. So the original actors are all gone. And it takes place in this area called Midsummer in England. And now there is, new people, new blood. Because some people, I guess they can't do over 20 years worth of television. It annoys them. So Mr. Elon Musk has decided that no more Bitcoin.
Here's today's podcast picture.
No more Bitcoin to buy his cars. Hey, here's a podcast picture today. It's of a lovely little spot in Coal Canyon Regional Recreation Area. I once went with Basil the Boxer. A couple times we went to this park area. And 2 years ago, I was at this particular location with Basil the Boxer. And we had to be careful because Basil was not liked by the horses, and they would kind of come up and intimidate him. So we had to move away from that area. But you can see that picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. I've been thinking a lot about the dog known as Basil the Boxer, how much I miss him. Oh, and that wonderful cat that adopted us for a short while about a month ago who's vanished. The stray cat that's gone. Now we got this new stray cat. We call him Patches. The last one, as you recall, was Orson, because he acted like Orson Welles and did these wine commercials for Parmesan Vineyards. And also would throw off, just get mad and angry. And you know what I remember most about Orson Welles was this special he did on Nostradamus. I had no idea who Nostradamus was. And then in high school, I see this. Actually, they made us watch this at the Catholic school that I was going to. And this this special that Orson Welles did where he's reading passages, the quatrains of Nostradamus and saying, oh, this predicted this predicted that, this is stuff that he sees in the future. And then I'm all freaking out because as soon as you hear predictions for the future, you're like, oh, when the fact of the matter is the future is always dark, gloomy, strange, murky. Who knows what's going to happen? That's why they call it the future. We have no idea. It's completely unknown. Oh, but Mike, it was predicted by Nostradamus. He was pretty cryptic. Some stuff, yes. Some stuff supposedly he hit right on the head. Supposedly. And then there are those that say that about other things that predict the future. Possibly the book of Revelations in the Bible. And what's the other thing people use? Oh, the Mayan calendar. That's right. Whereas why don't you just focus on the present and try and get things done now? Like Mr. Elon Musk saying, no more Bitcoin because it uses too much electricity for all the mining and stuff. He said Tesla would stop accepting vehicle purchase using Bitcoin due to climate concerns. It has big concerns for the crypto world. Now there's something called chia. Yes, the chia seed, which I sometimes put in my smoothies because it's supposed to be good. I think it has omega-3 acids in it that are supposed to be healthy. And that's good for you. But there's something called chia. It's a cryptocurrency in green cryptocurrency. It uses less energy than Bitcoin to create, which I don't know if that's saying much, but his dramatic reversal wiped $8,000 off the price of Bitcoin, which fell from close to $55,000 to $47,000 in just 2 hours. Yikes. What else in this crazy world? So yes, the horrible news out of India and all the coronavirus cases happening. But now India will have 8 vaccines by the end of the year. The government of India plans to inoculate all its citizens against the coronavirus by the end of this year. 216 crore doses will be made available, and 8 different vaccines will be used for the massive drive. Covaxin, developed by the Hyderabad-based firm Bharat Biotech in collaboration with the National Institute of Virology and the ICMR, is India's first approved indigenous COVID-19 vaccine. At least 55 crore doses of Covaxin would be available by December. Covishield is the Indian brand name of the vaccine developed by the University of Oxford partnership with the British-Swedish company AstraZeneca. It is being locally produced by the Serum Institute of India. 75 crore doses of Covishield will be available by the year end. Hey, there's something else I wanted to cover. Oh, let me jump over here to find that interesting story. Speaking of the coronavirus, so perhaps you have friends that are anti-vaccinators. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth. And you can catch me. I'm going to be doing Catch Me If You Can, my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio, Steven Spielberg movie. It with the Tom Hanks. And what does Tom Hanks keep saying in that movie? The guy's name. And now I can't think of the guy. Well, just the way he says it, it's so funny. And perhaps you've seen, and I love the music in that movie. It was actually John Williams did the musical score. Frank Abagnale, right? Frank Abagnale. The way Tom Hanks says his name is Carl Hanratty. This is Carl Hanratty. And then Christopher Walken was Frank Abagnale. By the way, Frank Abagnale Jr. writes books about how cybersecurity is so lax and something horrible is going to happen. And bing! Last week, we saw it, the Colonial Pipeline and all that, and the cryptocurrency the company used to pay for it, for the hack, the cyber crime against them, and they paid the ransom. And that was apparently in cryptocurrency. Another reason why I dislike cryptocurrency. It's so in the dark world, it seems. But, okay, back to this interesting bit of health news, and that is that there are people who are, anti-vaxxers. They don't know what to do. It's scary, like the future. Very scary. They can't deal with it. What's in that stuff? Although 150 million people have received a COVID-19 vaccine, 34% of Americans are still hesitant about getting the shot and say they are not sure and don't want the vaccine. This is according to a recent Kaiser poll. Despite overwhelming data supporting currently authorized vaccines, all of which were found safe and highly effective in large clinical trials and in real life since FDA authorization, and I believe this is speaking to the 3 that we have in the U.S., unlike the ones I mentioned earlier, the ones here, of course, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer. Some who have been hesitant to get the vaccine are changing their minds. The 68-year-old Ohio grandmother was skeptical about the vaccine, but while she said she elected to wait and see, she said she suffered severe COVID-19 and was hospitalized for 2 months at the Cleveland Clinic. She said at one point doctors told her to say their final goodbyes. Now recovered and fully vaccinated, this lady encourages anyone who will listen to get their shots. Don't wait. She said her prior hesitation was due to a belief that nothing can happen to me, right? If I could spare one person what I went through, then it was worth it. And then if they get the shot, maybe they'll tell a friend or a family member, and maybe it can extend from there. I'm hoping and hoping. This is interesting. There's a nurse practitioner named Dr. Julius Johnson, president of the Greater NYC Black Nurses Association, and Julia said, as a black person, I'm hesitant about health care because of the way historically we have been treated. The history of the United States is filled with examples of black and minority Americans subjected to unethical medical treatment. Though initially skeptical? Yes, that's probably not how you say that. Of COVID-19 vaccines, the nurse, Dr. Julius Johnson, the nurse practitioner, said he felt comforted once he understood more about the way vaccines were tested in over 100,000 people among the 3 vaccines and saw people in his community getting vaccinated. The vaccines were also tested on a diverse group comprising tens of thousands of volunteers of all different races, ethnicities, and life experiences. Ultimately, Dr. Johnson said that he decided it was more important to set an example for his family, his community, and his fellow health workers. Now he said he's educating others who are hesitant to get the vaccine, and he told ABC News that he wants those in his community to understand the truth about vaccines, their effectiveness, and how they were created, and the positivity that surrounds them. He said he wants people to make an informed decision. So and I've heard that argument from anti-vaxxers. You got to have an informed decision. You can't just listen to the media, because the media is all in the pocket of big med tech is how they rationalize it. So that doesn't sound right. You know, maybe we should ask ourselves why there are so many conspiracy theorists these days. Now, in this world. And it's apparently because in times of crisis, there's good evidence that conspiracy theories flourish. This is Joseph Pierre, psychiatrist and researcher at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA. David Geffen, if you didn't know, was a big-time record promoter, record mogul guy who helped Nirvana get discovered. Was also behind Aerosmith, the big comeback for Aerosmith, and like songs like "Love in an Elevator" and what was the other big one from that era? Well, eventually leading to "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing," but kind of got Aerosmith back going. When we feel insecure, we often look for information that provides an explanation for chaotic events. People seek out alternate takes on reality when they're inclined to mistrust official ones for various reasons. Groups most prone to conspiracy theorizing include people with lower socioeconomic status, those who have been excluded or ostracized, and those who feel life is out of control. People who read the book of Revelations. There are other fine books in the Bible. Why does everyone just focus on that one? You know, I understand the Bible is a source of strength for people. And ultimately, you can find... look how big the Bible is. You can find all kinds of things to rationalize what you believe, what will get you through life. But I don't think you should focus as much as some people do. A lot of conspiracy theorists focus on the book of Revelations. You simply have to look at your friends that are, let's say, if you have friends that all they do is quote from the book of Revelations. This is how it's always been since I was a kid. I'd be walking down the street, there'd be a guy with a big old sign he'd be carrying, say, "The end is near." And then he'd walk across the street and get hit by a bus. And I was like, oh, he was right. All of these groups' numbers have swelled since the start of the pandemic. Northumbria University social psychologist Daniel Jolly, so you know he's a happy guy, Daniel Jolly says when people are feeling powerless, anxious, and threatened, conspiracy theories can offer some relief. I pulled that from Science That Matters, from discovermagazine.com. Look, I don't want to be... Last week we went really long. We went almost an hour with the podcast when I did the anniversary one of the 10 years. Had been 10 years since the first Mike's Daily Podcast had been recorded. So let us just jump right into this thing. And this is something that may make your life miserable. And that is a bad boss. Sometimes disclosing bad bosses is unnecessary. Over time, bad bosses often reveal themselves through continued bad judgments and decisions other people bring to light. Sometimes, though, bad bosses will self-amend unproductive actions, attitudes, and behaviors to create the best resolution possible. Most wise, clear-thinking people will conclude that bad bosses produce unwanted results. In response, many bad bosses will argue profusely to cover for the suboptimal results their attitudes and choices have created. However, denying that bad outcomes are the results of bad decisions and poor execution does not invalidate the facts or minimize the role that wise leaders should play in fair evaluation. Accurate, fair-minded judgments regarding a bad boss's attitudes and actions can provide emotional release. It can also serve to counter the personal and group frustration created when a bad boss attempts to hide negative outcomes behind a non-responsibility argument. The non-responsibility excuse for negative performances, "it's out of my hands," is unacceptable. In fact, it's just plain cowardice and reveals a failure to own negative results. And that is from the book Good Success, Learning Good Lessons from Bad Leaders. See, we can learn something from bad bosses. I've had a plethora, many of them. Look, we're outside at Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valleyton, the last place on earth. Look who's here.
Hello, Michael Master, it's Madame Rootabega, and you need to wrap up the podcast because you got to get somewhere on this Saturday night. Oh!
Yes, I got to get ready for the great show I'm going to do that you can listen to if you go to my website, MikesDailyPodcast.com, tomorrow between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. The podcast picture is of two horses. Neither one is named Nilly. Like from the, that would be Benita's horse. Benita was on the last show. But it's in this beautiful spot in Podcastro Valley. I guess they call it part of called Canyon Park, but it's at the top of the area known as Columbia in Podcastro Valley. Look who else is here.
Hello, Dave, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, we can't wait till the sun goes down because it's blinding our eyes.
Yeah, blinding our eyes. Do you know that?
Yes, I wish it would stop I guess I could close my eyes. There we go. Guess that's it. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. You can chime in about any of the topics we covered. 336MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily is in what this podcast is. And it is all over the place on social media, just as the show is all over the place with my mouth saying things. But maybe you learn something. But you can check out and comment and go to all the areas we are across the web, and links are all there at MikesDailyPodcast.com to find us on Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud. We're even on, well, I can't do a link to, what's it called? Odyssey. I'm on Odyssey. You have to do like a podcast search for Mike's Daily Podcast if you want to find me there. But I am also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And you can also email me too with more on that, A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
And that is episode 2241. Tell all your friends. Check out the website that I put money into, so don't make it like it's a waste of money for me. Make it profitable for both of us by checking out, and you can go to through your phone too. Go through the browser on your phone if you have Google or whatever you use. And you can check out if you just type in the wonderful website, and that is MikesDailyPodcast.com.
Awesome.